Today we are going to talk about maps of the intangible aspect in Málaga, Fuengirola and Torremolinos. We have asked to 3 generations. How has the neighborhood evolved and grown? Málaga, Fuengirola and Torremolinos. 20 years interval.
Málaga. The evolution here has not been a growth in urbanization or population. It is mainly focused on mobility. The pedestrianization has improved the quality of life of the neighbors, reducing pollution and noise. However, it has also affected local businesses negatively, as these changes have led to higher rent prices, which have pushed them away in favor of big chain stores, especially in the main street. Fuengirola. The growth of this area comes from the opening of a shopping center, which made the area more appealing. Prior to that, there were some hotels, but until the mall was opened, houses weren't built. This growth made the area more active and safe. Torremolinos. This area started to grow the other way around. Big apartment complexes were built because of the location, which is relatively isolated but still well connected. From that growth in urbanization, more businesses started opening and became stable, besides from a growth in population, which made the area nicer to live in.
How does tourism impact Málaga, locals' point of view? The tourists in summer come for the sea, for the beach, for the sun and the good weather, and of course, for the culture. There are 3 types of citizens in summer: tourists, second residents, and locals. Tourists came from around the world thanks to the port and the airport. They create jobs, so they are reducing unemployment, but on the other hand, leaving aside the people of Málaga. Tourists take over the city. Many came from cruise ships, but they bring money and spend a lot of it, although they crowd restaurants and shops. When we talk about second residents, they are all Spanish, especially from Madrid and Andalusia. Most only come to enjoy the Málaga fair. Few second residents because the apartments have very high prices. And then, what happens when winter comes? There are still tourists in winter, for its cultural part of the city. It is alive all the year. How does tourism impact Torremolinos? Locals' point of view. Tourists came for the same reasons as in Málaga, but they don't have the cultural part. There are 3 types of citizens in summer: tourists, second residents, and locals. The tourists bring money and spend a lot of it. Also, they create jobs, therefore reducing unemployment. On the other hand, there is a saturation of chiringuitos. The pollution increased, both acoustic and environmental, and there is a saturation on the beach. People that have a second residence increase their population. They meet again with family and friends, but the streets are dirtier. And then, what happens when winter comes? Torremolinos is dead. Just the locals are left. There is no movement, many jobs are lost because the mayor is dedicated to tourism. It is true that you win some peace and quiet. How does tourism impact Fuengirola, locals' point of view? It's the same as in Málaga and Torremolinos, without the cultural part. There are 3 types of citizens in summer: tourists, second residents, and locals. It's the same as in Torremolinos. It's usually a Central European tourist, mostly came from Germany and England. They bring money and spend a lot of it. They create jobs, so they are reducing employment. But the chiringuitos are saturated, and the beach also. People that have a second residence is usually national tourists, mostly from Madrid and Córdoba. Although more and more foreigners decide to buy a second home. They do increase the population, so there is more security in the streets. They meet again with family and friends, but the traffic and the parking space is unacceptable, and the beaches and the green areas are saturated. And then what happens when winter comes? Fuengirola is also dead, just the locals are left. There is no movement, many jobs are lost because the majority is dedicated to tourists, but there's some peace and quiet. We can see the difference between the three cities. Malaga, having a cultural fair, continues operating in winter, and that's a fact.
Now we are going to talk about neighborhood relations. We have been asking family and friends about the treatment they have with their neighbor, and we have seen a notable difference between the apartments in the city center and the apartments of Fuengirola and Torremolinos. We also want to see how it has changed before and after COVID. Firstly, we are going to start with apartment in the center of Malaga. In this area, there is a lot of agglomeration of buildings, which does not allow there to be public areas in the buildings, such as interior gardens. This means that the neighbors only interact with each other on the stairs or the elevator, which greatly limits their relationship, since they are areas of passage. They are not areas where you are going to stay for a long time. Finally, we can see that COVID have limited this relationship radically, and now they are practically inexistent. On the other hand, in the area of Torremolinos and Fuengirola, the buildings have common spaces, which helps to improve the relationship between neighbors. In addition to being residential areas, and there are no hotels or rental apartments as there are in the center, there are no foreign people, and everyone knows each other since they have lived together for several years. Finally, after COVID, we can see the same result that in the center. These relations have reduced a lot.